Much like this show, I am channeling my inner 80s. I got my Marty McFly Halloween costume on because it is Halloween night and it is time to talk some things that are stranger. Stranger Things 2. Stranger Things Season 2 or Stranger Things 2, either, I guess, is acceptable. The Duffer Brothers who created called it Stranger Things 2 because this show, as proved by Season 1 and continuously proved by Season 2, is a lot like a movie. Netflix has released the entire season of Stranger Things Season 2. It's been out for about 4 or 5 days now. I was a little bit late to getting through the entire series, but I made sure to get through it as fast as I could because everybody's been talking about this thing. There's been so many plot analyses going around online. I just wanted to join in on that. I watched the first premiere episode of it the day it dropped, gave my thoughts on that to you guys. Now I want to come back and give my spoiler-free review of the entire season to you guys. Is it better than Season 1? Is it more controversial than Season 1? What did I think about it overall? I will start by telling you guys what I thought about Season 1 of Stranger Things. I have a written review of that, but who likes to read anymore? My thoughts on the first season of Stranger Things is that it was a good season of television. I enjoyed it. It had a lot of merits to it. I thought that the acting was solid around the board. I thought the kids in it were great. The mystery was pretty good. By the end, I thought it got a little bit scattered, and I thought that it got a little bit kind of bigger than it was trying to be, and it got a little bit kind of more ambiguous and got a little bit more confusing. But I think that overall it was a very well done season of television that piqued my interest and got me interested in where it could possibly go for Season 2. Season 2 of Stranger Things, I think might be even better than Stranger Things Season 1. And I have just finished watching Stranger Things 2, so I can't officially say I think it's better than Season 1. You need to marinate on it for a little bit. But honestly, guys, I do think Season 2 is a little bit more of the John flavor than Season 1 was. Season 1, again, had its merits. I thought it was a very good season of television, but I thought it had a lot of Steven Spielberg elements to it. Obviously, Eleven being this young girl who's being kind of, taught about the world around her and everything. This group of kids that are kind of forming a bond. You see their friendships kind of the highlight of the season. Feels very E.T.-ish. It feels very Spielbergian back in the 80s. This season feels much more like a Stephen King adaptation. It feels like it's a lot creepier. There are some high stakes. There's a lot of horror elements. It's shot to look like it's a very creepy atmosphere, and I love that. I do think that this entire season of Stranger Things feels like it's a lot more horror-ish than Season 1 did. And again, Season 1 had those horror elements in it. Season 2, I just think, amplified it and made sure it was in the forefront. Because this is a scary show. There's some creepy stuff going on, and I love that they really honed in on that and showed that, yeah, this is some messed up stuff that's going on in this town of Hawkins, Indiana. Again, I haven't given you guys too many plot points yet, but as you watch the first few episodes, you're like, yeah, this feels pretty terrifying. I can understand why, this is things that were scary were happening in Season 1, but yeah, Season 2 is a little bit creepier. You understand that, again, the villains are bigger, the kind of threat is bigger, the stuff that's happening is much more intense. The character of Will, as you saw at the end of Season 1, is going through a lot more intense stuff in this season, and you understand that, yeah, it feels like this is almost more in the real world now. Obviously, it's a bit of a fantasy show, but it does feel like it has a lot of real-world stakes to it, and, these are characters that feel like people who you don't want to die, who you don't want to have bad things happen to, and who you just feel like are going through these real problems that are facing them so imminently. So props to the Duffer Brothers on making it feel like it's a very realistic environment and making it feel like it's very scary. Around Halloween time when this dropped, you really want to feel like you're being scared, but also like you're kind of being entertained and like you're being brought along for the ride, and the Duffers did that through all of Stranger Things Season 2. The characters in the show are fantastic through and through. You love Mike, you love Lucas, you love Dusty, you love Will, you love Nancy, you love Steve, even though he's kind of a jerk, but you love Steve. You love all of the characters throughout this entire thing, and I actually think Stranger Things Season 2 did a better job at making some of the characters from Season 1 that you didn't like more likable. The main one being Winona Ryder's character, Mrs. Byers, I thought was really annoying in Stranger Things Season 1. I know it's kind of like an opinion online that might be something you say to sound cool, but I honestly just thought she was kind of annoying in Season 1. I wasn't a huge fan of her. Winona Ryder is much more subdued in the season, and whenever she's panicking, she panics in a very kind of realistic, thinking way, and I like to see that she has evolved. She's taking some fan criticism and understands, alright, maybe I need to take a different angle at the character this time around. She did it. She nailed it. Awesome job to Winona Ryder. Steve, the kind of jerky boyfriend to Mike's sister Nancy, he was even better in the Season 2, and I really liked him. I thought that he, again, was kind of this unlikable bully type of character in Season 1, but Season 2, you see the humanity behind him. You see he's going through some stuff as well, and I really like that, again, Stranger Things Season 1 had a few elements of characters that didn't really work, and Season 2 built upon them and showed that, they had some stuff going on as well, and you could understand kind of where we're going from here, I guess, what these characters are really meant to be. So again, great job to the Duffers for refining their characters and making sure that they were fully realized throughout Stranger Things 2. I think that, again, this entire season was very enjoyable. I wanted to go through the entire thing in one sitting. I couldn't, again, because my scheduling, life just gets in the way, of course, but it really does feel like by the end you have a ton of content that you could have handled in one sitting and really just appreciated. That being said, if you look at the entire season as one coherent movie, you feel like, yeah, you've experienced one awesome thing through and through. If you look at just episodes alone, though, you feel like each episode is kind of its mini kind of form of art. And I know a lot of TV shows nowadays are meant to be binged, and individual episodes aren't really that important anymore. Like back in the old days, like I talk about that like I'm old, but back in the old days, you'd always say, oh, that was my favorite episode of this show, or this was my favorite episode of this show. Nowadays on Netflix and even on some shows like on the CW, all the episodes just kind of blend together and you're like, alright, this is just kind of one longer experience. With Stranger Things Season 2, the fact that I was able to watch it kind of in chunks made me appreciate not only how it was one continuous serialized story, but also how each episode had so much care and articulation put into it. Stranger Things Season 2, Episode 2, the one where they go trick-or-treating, it's Halloween night, that might be my favorite episode of the entire series. I think that they just spend so much time getting you into the community of Hawkins and showing you what's going on, showing you how these characters are acting, and showing the environment around them, and I just thought it was such a great job, just a job well done to the Duffers, to the cast. So props to the entire team in that regard. There is one thing though that I do think Stranger Things 2 did a little bit less adequately than Stranger Things 1, or Stranger Things Season 1, whatever. Season 1, Season 2, 1, 2, doesn't really matter. That said, I do think that the one element that this show didn't necessarily have that the first season did have and executed really well was focus. I mean, Stranger Things 2 has so much going on that at some points it's easy to say, yeah, sometimes things don't necessarily seem as focused as they could have been. Season 1, for instance, it had Mike as the main character. It explored his relationship with his friends, his relationship with Eleven, and kind of how that all went down. In Season 1, you also had the sheriff, played by David Harbour, his relationship with Mrs. Byers, and his investigation into what's going on. This season had Jonathan and Nancy are doing something, Mike and his friends are doing something, Dusty has a subplot here and there, Eleven's doing her thing, you understand these characters are off doing their thing, and other characters over here doing their thing, you're like, alright, there's a lot happening here, and they introduce even more characters in this season where you're like, man, if the show didn't feel packed in Season 1 and still trying to manage it all, this season is jam-packed through and through, and I will say this, I was thoroughly entertained throughout all of Stranger Things Season 2, all the subplots were really great, and I was entertained by all of them. There wasn't a single weak link, but it is noticeable that there are so many. At times, the focus isn't necessarily there for the show. Again, in Season 1 of Stranger Things, my two favorite characters were Mike and the Sheriff, because I loved both their characters because they had so much time focused in on them. Eleven was the perfect supporting role and perfect foil to Mike, because she was kind of supposed to contrast with his story, and kind of seeing how they came together was a really magical part. In this season, because so many characters are off doing their own different things, you don't really see all the characters come together and kind of do their together thing until the very end of the season. And I'm like, alright, I understand each character's gonna go through their own thing, or they're having like a relationship with one or two other characters, and you want to elaborate on that a little bit more, but it's just one of those things where if everybody came together a little bit sooner, or if everybody kind of crossed paths more, or if everything was a little bit more focused, then the season would have just been even more perfect. But still, like, you know, Season 3 will focus up a little bit more, and we'll have the best season so far. Speaking of the best season so far, I still need some marinade on, but I do think I enjoyed Stranger Things 2 even more than Stranger Things 1. I enjoyed Stranger Things 2 through and through, had so much great stuff going on, the stakes were higher, the characters were deeper, I really liked all the new world building they did. The first scene of this season was immediately a thing where you're like, oh, is that where this is going? And you kind of get a bigger, broader sense of the world, while also staying in the comfort of some of the characters that you knew and loved from the Season 1, and still feeling like you were in the world of Hawkins, Indiana, which really felt again like a magical experience to go back to. I'm really excited to see where the show goes in Season 3. I kind of have an idea a little bit, but I'm very curious to see how it winds up playing out. Those are my thoughts on Stranger Things 2, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. It's been out for a few days, so you can probably spoil it, so just anybody who hasn't seen it, just don't worry the comment section. Those are my thoughts, though. Again, let me know yours in the comment section down below. You guys can go over to mymoviethoughts.com, follow me on Twitter at JohnMHayeck, and subscribe to this YouTube channel for tons more posts from me. Links to all three of those being in the description down below. You guys can also like this video, comment on it, share it with some friends. I am John Hayeck, and as always, thank you guys so much for watching.